Hello and welcome to the session that we've called, as you can see, Apple Support Services with Watson. Thanks again very much for taking the time to be with us today. It's a great honor and privilege to be speaking here at the Jamf Nation User Conference. My name is Steve Nicolai, and I'm a Global Offering Manager in Workplace Support Services within IBM Global Technology Services. The offerings we build and deliver are focused on enabling the increasingly mobile end-user community across all devices and platforms. And you heard some of this morning, too, that users are changing in how they work, and I'll talk more about that. And of course, that includes the IBM, or I should say the Apple family of products. We do use and integrate Jamf in what we do. It's an integral part of our delivery for Apple, and we wrap our own standard support processes and standard support approaches around that. We offer many different services, a lot of the things that you do in your roles, I'm sure, that include support for virtualization, collaboration, migration, provisioning, registration, of course, device management, and then some of the traditional end-user support type of functions like service desk and help desk, client center, kiosk, desk-side support. We really can offer anything a client needs in the digital environment. The presentation we're going to give you today is a bit different from a lot of those from looking at the agenda that are on this Jamf, on the Jamf agenda. We're not going to really talk about our integration with Jamf or our use of Jamf because it's similar to what you do, the way we use Jamf. We're not even going to get into the real nuts and bolts of Watson, of how you go build and deploy a Watson solution. What we will talk about is workplace support services with Watson, which is our cognitive self-service solution for end users. So it really, if you think about a lot of the message in the keynote, I kept hearing end users, end users, end users, end users. You're going to hear about how we're doing that using Watson and built around Watson. Because no matter how well your device is supported, end users still sometimes have questions and need help. And we're reinventing how that happens using Watson technology. And it's a cornerstone of our transformation towards a support model that enables consistent user productivity and choice, because we also heard that this morning, too. It's a lot about choice. Users want to get the support that they want on whatever device and for whatever device, anywhere, anytime, and through a method of their choosing. And that's one of our key messages. You met me. With me today is Greg Gustafson, who will come up and do a demo of some of the technology. Greg drives, he's a cognitive delivery and transformation leader with us, and he drives a lot of the success of the Watson solution deployments and delivery that we're going to talk about. I'm going to start out and take you through a bunch of slides and material. He'll do the demo. With this size of room, it might be better if we just hold questions till the end, and then we'll do some of the questions at the end, and we'll try to leave time to do some of that. So, why should we reinvent workplace support? Well, device support is critical, but the traditional model of just device support does not provide what people want nor need anymore. I'm sure you're seeing that in your roles. The day of that monolithic tower type of support is really ending, and we heard a lot of that this morning as well. Device support's a critical component, of course, and Jamf does an excellent job. But it needs to be an integrated component of a user-centric model, because for the most part, devices by themselves don't provide any value. Someone has to use that device for it to provide value. People use multiple devices to stay productive across many platforms, as we heard this morning as well. Some of them, and that's been going on for quite a while, they buy and bring from home. They don't want to wait on hold on the phone for help desk support anymore. And they don't want to wait till 9 a.m. Monday morning when the kiosk opens. They want a more consumer-like and consumer-friendly approach to support, much like they get with their solutions they use at home. They also expect more and more that problems will be avoided for them, and tasks that should be done for them will be integrated through end-to-end automation. So the workplace is much more complex. Users are changing their expectations, and there needs to be a heightened priority placed around productivity. To meet these challenges, we need deeper insights, we need to reinvent the user experience, and all of that needs to be driven by innovation and automation. And I'll talk to all three of those points. So, we start by getting objective insights from data through analytics. And one of the key analytics we use is around service desk tickets. If you think about a service desk ticket, it has a history of the interaction with the end user, but it also has a history of the experience of the end user. Now, service desk tickets are mined in various ways today, typically by filtering around fields and doing some of that type of analysis. And in some cases, the unstructured text is used by pulling out keywords and building visuals around them or building other information just from the keywords themselves. And some of that's pretty useful, but some of it can be very misleading as well. I have an example I use in another presentation where there's a paragraph that's written that talks in every sentence, and in every sentence it has widget good, in every single sentence. Excuse me. But every sentence is written to imply that a widget is no good. For example, widget is no good. No, 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 this widget is no good. No, no. Every single sentence. I'm sure most of you are familiar with word clouds, which is the most obvious technique for looking at frequency of words, where you have a mosaic of words, and the words that occur more frequently show up in bigger text. And there's actually a word cloud in here that's unassociated with this that I'll point out later in case you haven't seen them. If you put that paragraph into that word cloud, what jumps out at you is widget good. So if you looked at that, it implies that widgets are good. But if I take that same text and I run it through semantic text analysis on Bluemix on Watson, with a 97% confidence level, it tells me that the sentiment about widgets is negative, even though every sentence has widget good in it. Now, that tells you the power of using data science and machine learning techniques. We use the data science and machine learning technique of clustering to analyze tickets, to start out by analyzing tickets, where we don't just look at the words, but we look at the phrases and the meanings. We run it through a module that builds a model, and it starts out actually by going through the first 5,000 tickets, builds the model, iterates through it, across can be 100,000 tickets or more, and associates a cluster with every ticket. We then combine that back with the structured data, because it's not all useless. It's helpful as another layer and helpful for another type of analysis or additional analysis. And then we visualize it, and we use typically Watson Analytics. We could use Tableau, we could use whatever, but we use Watson Analytics. So now I'm going to show you a brief video of that, of what the output of that looks like. And we use that to be able to help us identify areas to train Watson and identify other prevalent problems that we can address with various other technologies and solutions we bring to the table.
IBM performs a ticket analysis as part of Workplace Support Services. We take the unstructured data in service desk tickets in the description and resolution fields and perform the data science technique of clustering to identify the top ticket drivers. We then combine that data with the structured information in the tickets and load that into IBM Watson Analytics to provide us a platform for further exploration and visualization. This example in Watson Analytics shows the top ticket drivers in this center pane. Each blue bar indicates one of those top drivers, in this case Outlook, and we also are showing the mean time to recover because that is a critical factor in prioritization of which tickets to try and attack with Workplace Support Services with Watson and with other potential areas of improvement or other initiatives for improvement. The green line is the mean time to recover, and you can see the dots indicate each of them. We also look across the tickets for some of the structured data like ticket driver keywords. So these are in some of the structured fields. And we then have the capability within Watson Analytics to do filtering. And by filtering, we can look deeper, take another look at what is actually the root cause of some of these tickets. So I've selected Office 365, and we can see that the ticket keyword drivers that are most associated with them are templates, application, database, and forms. Our information architects can then take that data, drill deeper to identify the question and answer pairs that are important to make workplace support services with Watson effective. We can also make recommendations potentially around databases for upgrades or whatever as we look deeper into the data that can improve the overall IT environment and the client experience. We use structured data to look for other trends. We can see an increasing trend in this case for the month open of tickets. We also look at other visualizations such as ticket arrival day and time as an example, or other structured analysis. SLAs, were they breached? Was it reassigned? It depends on what data were provided from the service desk, how far we can go. Also, the concept of persona or user groups is important if we're given that data. In this case, you can see an example where there appears to be a disproportionate number of tickets that the executive is experiencing, because that's nearly 9% of the overall tickets, and it's unlikely that 9% of the people who are contacting this service desk were executives. We can then go and filter based on executives and see what areas we need to attack to try and help solve those problems with workplace support services with Watson or other initiatives. And we can see in this case there are the next level of drivers around mostly Outlook problems for executives. That's how we use IBM Watson Analytics as part of the initial and periodic ticket analysis within workplace support services.
That guy sounds familiar. And he left something out to talk about how we do this periodically. We do it initially to help us begin to train Watson, and we do it periodically because we take care of a lot of the problems that we find, and it also demonstrates the success as we go through this. So we've done this for many, many clients, this type of analytics, and a really good example is a major European bank. This client came to us, like many of our clients, with the objective primarily of reducing help desk tickets to save money. All right? That's a lot of our clients come with that objective. They also came to us very much like many of our clients, believing they knew what their main top call drivers or main cost drivers were. They thought that their problems were with Office 365. That's where they thought most of their problem was. We ran the analysis for them, and we did find some objective information that Office 365 was causing them problems, but only as their third largest call driver, less than 10% of their calls. And that was their perception. We found that password reset, which is a very common problem across the IT industry, was really their major issue. And we also found that an email solution was another one of their issues. So we were able to bring to the table a solution for automated password reset to help with that, and to train Watson around the email application in Office 365 to help improve their situation. It did deflect some tickets and save them money, but it also, more importantly, I believe, started them on that journey to this whole idea of this user-centric model of delivery, an analytics-driven one. So, as mentioned earlier, we're focused on giving people choices of how they get their support. And our Watson Self-Help offering is one of those choices within our omni-channel approach to support. We've incorporated that chat solution into the overall model, and users can choose which method of support that they want. They can still call the help desk if they want. They can use other self-service, self-help. They can live chat with an agent, or they can start with Watson. Now, what's different now is that in the past, there were options for support for end users. But typically, if you selected one of those options, and it didn't work, you had to take some manual action to go to another option. So you might go do a lookup or some self-help or something like that. If you didn't get what you needed, then you would have to pick up the phone and call the help desk. Where we are today, if you start with a chat with Watson, and Watson can't answer because it hasn't been trained, and that's an important distinction, and Greg will talk more about that as well, and I will too. But if it hasn't been trained, not programmed, trained to be able to answer that question, then the end user is given the option of having a live transfer or transfer to a live chat with a human agent who picks up from where Watson left off, has the history, makes it much more quick. Even in those situations, Watson learns. So Greg will talk about this too, but we have a simple thumbs up, thumbs down mechanism that helps Watson learn on the job. One of the things we do to help Watson learn on the job and become better at being able to answer questions. The third leg of our integrated approach to reinventing user support is innovation and automation. Unlike what's been done in the past, we've built around Watson, which gives us capabilities and flexibility to do integration, like I just talked about, that we couldn't really do in the past. But it's not just all about technology. In IBM, we draw on the depth of our organization and the breadth of our organization to continuously improve and reinvent. We drive enhanced integration across all our services. We've recently announced a major service across GTS that incorporates all of the services, including service services, et cetera. IBM Services Platform with Watson, which we're part of. We partner with our clients to transform together to incorporate appropriate new technology, enhance processes, and enable people to be more efficient and effective. And that's really the key, is people, and you heard that this morning as well. That's really why we're all here, is for users when you think about it. And people are at the key even of our cognitive strategy. Our chairman recently issued 3 principles for ethical artificial intelligence. And the first one is purpose, to aid humans, not to replace them. The second one is transparency, and I find this one kind of funny. It means no self-aware systems, no Terminator-style stuff, that people have to stay in control, right? The third one is skills, that these systems must be trained by people, and people must be enabled to learn how to use these systems. So they're not just about standalone technology. On the left side of this chart, you'll see the various user groups that we support with various different Watson technology. We have solutions throughout what we deliver that help sysadmins, help agents. What Greg's going to show you today is, as I said, our end user, user-focused, cognitive self-help solution. The technology integration is critical, like I've mentioned a couple times, but the effectiveness is really driven by humans. Oh, I moved it. My mic started to go off. Really driven by humans. You'll notice at the top of this chart, I guess I need to not look over at the chart. You'll notice at the top of this chart that you see information architecture. We have a profession within IBM called information architect. Much like any good student, Watson needs a good teacher, and that's kind of the role of the information architect. They work with subject matter experts from the client to make Watson, to train Watson around a lot of the things that Watson needs to do. We need those subject matter experts because, and I'm sure you see this in your environment too, with Apple out in the environment, most of your problems aren't with the Apple product. Most of your problems are much more likely to be about how the solution is deployed in your environment and how the end user uses it. For a really simple example is, if you've ever personally had an email problem, I'm pretty sure it's not about how to send an email or to address an email. It's more likely about how do I replicate an email in our environment? How do I attach to those servers? How do I get to templates for email? How do I, or even a business process related problem, like what do these fields mean in this survey I'm getting through email. It could be any of those types of problems, but it's not typically about how do I send an email. So we need to be able to start with generic knowledge and then augment that with specifics about the client environment to make it valuable to an end user. Because on a service desk, it's very much the same with a human when they answer questions. That it is about the environment itself. The ticket analytics I showed you identify the major areas to focus on. But we use deeper analytics on chat logs, on the nature of the conversation, the thumbs up, thumbs down that I talked about, to identify a deeper level of training that the information architects do with the subject matter experts to make Watson effective. The information architects focus on 3 levels of training of Watson. So learning on the job is mentioned on this picture. That's a lot of Watson's learning is experiential, but the other 3 levels that they focus on really break down in this way. And Greg will talk more about this too. The first level is called highly curated content, and Greg will talk about intents. Basically, it's, I should say that better, intents, right? Or an answer, a single answer. So I'm very simplistic at times, and I think of it this way. Reboot is an intent. There could be many, many different paths that you would take to get to reboot, but you don't want some traditional tree structure with every single question that leads you to that intent. So they focus on building, and Greg will talk a lot more detail about how they do that, building these dialogues. The second level is called highly curated content. It's more traditional, 1 question, 1 answer. So we have that too. And the third level is called long tail. And long tail is more what you would expect if you had seen Watson on Jeopardy. We start with literally tens of thousands of videos, articles, artifacts, and we augment them with whatever the client provides as well for their environment. And Watson returns the most probable answer, and it learns which answers are correct, so it gets better and better as it goes forward. I mentioned Watson, or I mentioned Jeopardy, I should say, on Watson, because that's kind of when it first hit the scene, but it's not the beginning of Watson. Watson had been developed for many years. It's a big part of IBM's artificial intelligence journey, of course. On the right-hand side of this, I talk a bit about integrated automation platforms that take care of some of the mundane and repetitive tasks. Talked about password reset, so identity management's one of them. Dynamic automation is more focused on us being able to provide information to support servers, networks, sort of the infrastructure. And then robotic process automation is more focused on, as you would think, processes and more end-user related things, such as suppression of messages during outages, such as routing of tickets, moving tickets around, printer checking, those types of things we do that way. Now, I mentioned that Watson's cognitive, and that does mean it learns, reasons, and understands. And if you look at the bottom of this, that talks to some of the features of Watson that we include in what we're doing. Watson is multilingual. We support, in our solution, nearly every major Western language as well as Japanese, and we can do that in the natural language, or we can do real-time translation if that's required. We continue to build tone and sentiment into what we do. Of course, we have cognitive. We're all about cognitive. We have cognitive internet search. And one thing that's important to understand is in the very bottom right-hand corner of this, personal awareness or persona. You hear the word persona a lot. Watson, as much as a client wants it to, so we can limit it, learns the end user. It learns location. It learns what platform you're on. It remembers the last interaction you had, and we can target alerts and messages based on location, even if I change location, that type of thing. So with that, I think I'm at the point where I am going to pass this off to Greg to give you a brief demo.
All right. Hey, thanks for your time. My name is Greg Gustafson, and I'm going to role, among other, I work with the teams that transition and deliver workplace support services with Watson, and plus some other roles. So what I'm going to show you here today, I've got a recorded demo that I did a couple days ago, just actual interacting with a live Watson system that we've trained with some Mac content. But I want to just take a minute, and I'm just going to just not hit too many more slides, but I'm just going to hit a couple key points on Watson, right? And so I think there's some misperception sometimes. People think about Watson, I'm getting that like. People think about Watson like it's sort of this all-knowing oracle. And Watson's not a thing or an it, but it's really a collection of products and services and APIs that enable solving a problem for an end user. And it uses things like conversation and discovery and speech and is underlain by analytics that Steve talked about, empathy and those sort of things. But these are some of these listed here, right? Conversation services, which I'm going to show you here. Watson Conversation Services is one of the technologies that Workplace Support Services with Watson uses. Natural language understanding, visual recognition, and is another Watson technology where it can recognize images and processes those. Tone analyzer, which is really cool. You can actually have someone interacting with Watson, and it can interpret tone if they're frustrated, if they're angry and upset, and then it can have it take different actions based on that, right? So I think it may be about a use case within a call center or a support center, help desk model. Someone's really unhappy, it can interpret their tone and then direct it maybe to a technician that's more skilled with that. Text to speech, speech to text, and language translation, and then many others. The point that Steve talked about with a workplace support service with Watson around conversation services, it's the idea of an intent. An intent is really the reference point for a question and answer. So someone asks a question, and then Watson needs to respond with a paired answer, right? So it doesn't come out of the box smart. It's not the all-knowing oracle. As Steve mentioned, you've got to train it. But it learns quickly, and it doesn't forget. So an intent's really just another way of saying it's an answer. All right, so how does that work? So when we're setting it up, Watson's trained on a set of similarly phrased user questions, and it uses that set of questions to compare real time against what people are asking it. So when it sees a close match, and we've got it set for an 85% confidence level, in its confidence with that match, it delivers the answer back that it's been trained on for that intent. So we build these as question and answer pairs, and this is really important, and this is the idea of an answer. So in this case, the answer is the steps to connect to a Wi-Fi network. Now there's a lot of different ways to ask a question to get to that answer, and when we're setting it up initially, we load some of those in there, working with subject matter experts that are unique for that content and also for that culture, right? Because different people ask things different ways, right? But for example, how do I connect to a Wi-Fi network? I want to connect. Where do I add? And so, but over time, Watson's machine learning algorithms recognize those and also other ways that people are asking that question, and it actually grows its knowledge of different ways to get to that answer. So it remembers those through the machine learning, and those patterns are those questions. I'll give an example. Steve talked about one of the clients. We first started up a Watson deployment for a single domain of knowledge. It was getting about a 50% answer rate. Starting right out of the gate for one particular knowledge topic that had been trained on. And then within about 2 weeks, it had grown that to 75%, which was really pretty cool, and that continues to grow. This is a web portal. We've also got in a current Agile sprint going on, that is much louder, the ability to interact with Watson via a Skype for Business with a Slack channel. So there's other work going on in a current development sprint to add other ways of interacting. But as you can see here, we start here. This is the command line, or the interface. We've got the ability here to someone can just ask a question. Steve talked about persona, recognizes me, where I'm at, what system I'm using, right? And then there's the line where people interact with it. There's also the topics over there on the right side. And again, the analytics determine which topics we've trained it on, so we've got more of them listed here. And then there's trending questions based on me and my persona, the questions that are common. That are getting asked. So this is going to start, and it's going to say hi there. Now we built a chit-chat dialogue, and it says, hello, what application and question can I help you with? Now we also have the ability here, we want to make it so people can interact with it. We're using common terms and language, no computer terms. And I'm hearing the groans, yes, do you know any good jokes? How does NASA organize the company parties? They plan it. I didn't say it'd be a good joke. I just said it'd be a joke. All right? So anyway, now we're going to start with a question, right? So someone's going to say, this is an end user saying, okay, I'm going to ask a question. And so they're going to say, I need to add a new calendar, right? All right, you can hear clicking. All right, so it comes back. Now, you can add a calendar in multiple applications, right? So we're going to choose here, of course, we've got Mac OS Sierra. We're going to click on that. And then it actually now will give a step-by-step view. Now, this is something that we borrowed. Our internal Mac at IBM team has done a really amazing job with self-support within IBM. And so this is one of the ideas we borrowed from them. We want to give that visual feedback. And so, for example, you can see steps 1 through 11. We want to give the end user a view to the number of steps. And if you go through here, it tells how far they're going through, and it gives the step-by-step view on how to add, how to do that particular function. Okay? And then I can show all. Okay? So it's given the answer. Now, we've also got the ability, if you look up on the top, we can embed rich media content. So we've got audio-visual rich media content. And I'm going to be quiet and let this play.
Add a calendar account. From the dock, click Calendar. From the Calendar menu, click Add Account. Under Choose a Calendar Account Provider, select the appropriate account. In this example, we will create a Google Calendar. Click Continue. In the email field, enter the appropriate email address. Click Next. In the password field, enter the appropriate password. Click Next. Select the apps to be used with the account. When finished, click Done. This is a process to add a calendar account.
So we've got the ability to pull in 3,000 rich media audio-visual files to, again, give the user a better idea of how to actually do things with that. I'm going to pause this here. So I'm back now typing there, and you notice as it types in how do I, this is cognitive type ahead, right? So when I type in how do I, Watson is coming back with answers or with questions that's been asked earlier, how do I do various things? When I type in how do I, it says how do I hide the dock bar, do different things here, select a view on Finder. If I type the word connect, it's going to refine it further. How do I connect to a Wi-Fi network? And it starts to get to a connection. I just type in, how do I connect to Wi-Fi? And it's going to give me the answer for that. We're going to move through this a little more quickly. Again, 1 through 6 steps. Move through that fairly quickly. And then we also have the ability with this one to show all. And I've got a view here for a video. We're just going to do a short, he's already seen part of this. And again, we've got a visual view.
Wi-Fi network. Click Wi-Fi. Click Turn Wi-Fi on. Click Wi-Fi. Select the appropriate Wi-Fi name. In the password field, enter the appropriate password.
I'm going to cut this one a little short here just to skip
Join.
ahead. So you get the idea, all right? We also have the ability here to type in, and I see can I use picture? And I'm going to select one of the options. This is one to float a video. And the point here is that we can also embed images, right? I want to give the end user the ability to see different ways to solve their problem. This is another idea we borrowed from our Mac at IBM support, who's done a really nice job of incorporating those kind of things. Now, I'm going to pause this for a second. And we talked about the idea of learning on the job and assisted living, or assisted learning, not assisted living, assisted learning. Thinking of my mom. Anyway, so you'll notice on the screen here, there's a thumbs up and a thumbs down, right? And there's also a comments field. So we have the ability, so you can type in comments, and this goes to the information architect, right? We also click the thumbs up, right? And it says, okay, thank you, that's been helpful, right? Thank you for your feedback. The information architect, we use what's called a 2-stage classification of learning. And so we use both explicit and implicit feedback. So explicit feedback is the end user, giving the thumbs up, typing the comments, and they use that to help train Watson. So we use the 2-stage classification to help improve Watson's learning and training. The implicit feedback is what you don't see, but that looks at the user behavior. How long did they linger on a particular topic? How far did they get through the various steps, right? How long did they take, right? So the information architect uses this. Now this is the administrative portal. The end users don't see this, but I'm going to go up on top there and I'm going to go to LOTJ, which stands for Learning on the Job. So this is the view that the information architect would see. You can see the different questions that have been asked. You can see the number of times it's been asked, the time spent on each question, you know, the percentage, the way they went through on each of the steps, you know, the feedback, the number of votes, and then the confidence. So you can see all these different sort of questions there that were asked. So again, the information architect uses this. This is both supported and unsupported learning. So this is the supported learning area where we, in addition to Watson's machine learning, our information architect helps identify which particular topics aren't getting the right answers. Maybe we have opportunity. Let's go look at that one there that got, you know, 50% of the way through, and why did it get stuck there, right? In addition, we've got a heat map. So we can get a visual view for the information architect to also get more feedback to determine which answers need to go be improved. So again, that's supported learning. Okay? All right, now I'm going to go back. I've just got a couple more questions. I'm going to just do a couple things here. I'm going to type in, how do I install Slack? And it recognizes that that's an application that would be listed. But there's also over in the trending questions, you can see over there, I want to install Mac and OS Sierra. So we can build integrations into other applications. We can give a view and really want to link into other sorts of applications as well. Okay? All right, now you noticed, I'm going to do another thing here. I'm just going to have a couple more questions. One of these is, how do I change, there we go, how do I change my password in Office 365? And you'll notice that we had been on the domain or the cartridge up on the top. We had been in OS, right? Now we're up OS 10. Now we're up here in Microsoft Office 365. So that's the steps to change a password. We'll step through each of those. And as you know, changing a password is a different set of steps than if you want to reset your password. It's also got the video link here if we want to do that. Okay. So if we want to say, how do I reset my password, that's going to take you to a different set of steps to actually get that resolved. It says, have you logged into Office 365 successfully before? Yes, I have. Okay, good. To reset your password, click here. And it'll bring us up to the window for Microsoft. So again, it recognizes the difference in that intent between change and reset, which is very subtle, but it's important. Okay? All right, now Steve talked about integration with ServiceNow. So we've got the ability here for an end user to go check the status of their ticket. So there's integration with ServiceNow. There's other integrations coming with automated password reset tools, with RPA. But we've got integration with ServiceNow for someone to check the status of their ticket. So you can see I can type in what's the status of my ticket, and it automatically changes over to the domain for ticket management. All right. Now it's going to ask me for a ticket number. I'm just going to make one up because it didn't have an actual ticket on our service management system. There's a number of different instances. So I can type something in, and then it says, OK, that's an invalid number. Now, one of the things that I want to highlight here is we've been talking about fairly simple self-help eligible types of problems. I ask a question, I get an answer. You know, but in a service desk or a support center, a help desk mode, self-help oftentimes is a pretty small % of the problems. More often what you would have is an end user saying something like, I can't get to my email, or I need access to this application. And the technician or the service desk agent would need to take them through a set of troubleshooting steps, right? So you can't connect your email. So have you tried this? Yes, that worked. So then I take you down that path, right? So we're also now using Watson to replicate that decision tree troubleshooting step. And I'm going to show you something here that we've designed for this and just for this demo, which we also do for other clients. And so we're going to type in, all right. Give it a second there. My computer asked me something. My computer is running slow. Okay. All right. So again, all right, are all applications running slow or just a single app? Okay. All right. 2 minutes. All right, they're all running slow. I see you're running a Mac. Actually, so you see you're running a Mac. So it recognizes my persona, knew what system I've got. All right, and it gives me the steps here. Let's go to the Mac Activity Monitor. All right, so this will give the steps for someone to walk through and to try to fix that. Now it says, did this resolve your problem? Okay, I'm going to say no, right? And you'll notice that now on the bottom right, a little button pops up that says Connect to Agent. So Steve talked about that live handoff. We really want to preserve that continuum of support. We don't want to leave an end user hanging. So we have the ability now, they can click on that, and it'll automatically go through either ServiceNow chat or a chat tool called Live Engage. And they can now, it gets automatically handed over to a service desk agent. Now this view here is the portal, what the agent would see on their end. You can see an interaction came in, they accepted it, and they've got up on the top left what the person is asking for. They give a greeting and say hello. All right, and if you go back to the end user, all right, this is what you're going to see. All right, this is just about done. All right, okay, so you can see computer's running slow, or my Mac's running slow. Over here with the agent side, they're going to help continue to troubleshoot. So this is really at the end point. There's one other final thing here, is that Steve talked about how the end user, their interaction or their dialogue with Watson gets passed over to the agent. So the agent's also got the ability to see, as you can see here, all of the questions that they asked Watson. And so we want to give the agent as much information as possible, give them a head start, and then that information is also mined to go identify additional opportunities. Okay? All right. So I think we're just about out of time. So Steve, I'll let you, I took a little bit extra time, but I'll let you finish.
Sure.
Anyway, thank you.
Thanks. Just a few final thoughts. There's about 3 slides, but I'll go through them really quickly. There's the word cloud I talked about. If you haven't seen a word cloud, not really an analysis, but that's what they look like. You heard about ServiceNow and Jamf today. We have a very special relationship with ServiceNow. We do, and Greg talked about some of the integration that we do on our side, but ServiceNow and IBM do joint development now, and ServiceNow is integrating Watson into their product as well. And our relationship's so good at their user conference, Knowledge 17, they gave IBM 2 awards, one of which was as the top outsourcer on the planet using ServiceNow, and one was the top reseller on the planet using ServiceNow. So we've integrated with ServiceNow, and we look forward to also exploiting some of the integrations that are going on with Jamf in that space. So I've talked a lot about the transformation journey, and it is a journey, and we're by no means done. But I hope we've showed you that we have most of the elements in place to do this. And I talked about ServiceNow and Jamf. You can tell we're not your grandfather's IBM anymore. We're much more open. We're dedicated to open systems and to becoming the premier service integrator on the planet. That's what we're focused on. Now, our framework shouldn't be much of a surprise. It's built on analytics, cognitive solutions, and automata, or multiple automations. And the 3 key takeaways I wanted you to get from what we presented today was that we're focused on understanding the end user, understanding the changes in the environment, and using objective information from analytics to do that. Number 2, we're dedicated to transforming the end user experience through innovation and automation, using the insights we gain from analytics. And number 3, by doing that, we're entirely focused on changing the culture for end user support to being user-centric and not being traditional device-centric. So we can take a few questions if people want to stay late, or you can come see us after, but that's the end of the material.
I want to thank Greg and Steve for spending some time with us today to talk about Watson. You may have questions, and we would like to answer them, but I definitely don't want to get in the way of lunch, because I know that that's the fastest way to angst. So if you want to stay and ask questions, they can hang for a little while. Otherwise, I would invite you to open a discussion on the Jamf Nation user forums, and we can get with you there and answer your questions there. But thanks again to Greg and Steve from IBM for sharing this with us today.
Thank you. Thank you
have
very
a great
much.
lunch.